This is Maurice Jones-Drew, and you're listening to the What's Bruin Show.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, UCLA, fight.
You're listening to the What's Bruin Show, part of the What's Bruin Show Network, with your hosts, Jake Merrifield, Bill Shirley, Jamaal Artis, and Mike Regalado, bringing you anything and everything UCLA sports. And now, it's time for the What's Bruin Show.
Hello and welcome to What's Bruin. I am your host, Jake Merrifield, and in a few moments I'll be joined on the phone by my good friend Mike Regalado from Bruin Report Online.
Bro.
It's the What's Bruin Symposium on the What's Bruin Show Network, and we thank you very much for listening. You can email the show, what'sbruinshow@gmail.com. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, on Substack, what'sbruin.substack.com, or the Patreon, patreon.com/what'sbruinshow or what'sbruinshow.com. For just $2 a month is all that costs.
$2.
A couple dollars more on the Substack. But however you're getting the What's Bruin Show, we really appreciate your support. You could also watch/listen to the show on YouTube. It goes up there with a little slideshow. A slideshow I probably will redo now that we're done with another football season. It has mercifully come to an end. If you check the show notes, you can see the link for our mylocker.net site where you can get WBS merch. That's a lot of fun. Do your shopping for the holidays. We would appreciate that. And you can also call the hotline, 805-399-4WBS, Sacramento, Troy. I am not sure at this moment in time whether or not there will be a caller segment in this particular show because Mike is kind of forcing me to do the show right now. Truth be told, I'd probably rather just not do the show and do a show like right before the bowl game and then do a show after the bowl game and then, kind of recharge the old batteries a little bit because I am feeling a little bit worn down by the Bruins right now. I think maybe we all are a little bit, and I would like a little time to reflect, but Mike will not be denied. And so here we are. But if you do have a call for the show, send it, and at some point maybe I'll do a caller segment. Diego, specifically, you sent a call in a while back. Shoot me an email about that one, big guy. But we appreciate all of your calls and all of your support. Crispy, you sent a call in. Mike from Santa Clarita, you sent a call in. I'm not forgetting about you guys, but I just may not have time on this particular evening, and my apologies go out to all of you. So at some point, I will presumably get around to editing and responding to all of that stuff. But we do love you guys, and thank you very much for your support. This has been it's been up and down football season for sure, but one of the parts that made it worthwhile for me was hearing from all of you, and we do appreciate that through the ups and the downs. But without any further ado, let's bring on Mikey, and let's talk about the BRUpocalypse, because the BRUpocalypse is nigh. Or it isn't, and we're just overreacting, which is entirely possible. Who knows? But let's get Mike on here.
Blue 32, Blue 32, California, hood, hey! Football.
Alrighty, well, like I said, Mikey insisted on us doing a show today, so here we are. Mike's on the phone. He's very excited. Aren't you, Mike?
Hey, Mike.
I am
Hey,
thrilled. It's
Hey,
been a very
Hey, Mike.
trippy what's up, Chip? It's been a very trippy week in UCLA sports, hasn't it, Jake?
Yeah, it definitely has. And I don't know. The title of the show is going to be "The BRUpocalypse is nigh," but I don't know if it is or not. It's just it just feels that way, But whatever. I mean, we could get to this time next year and we're just like, okay, yeah, fine. UCLA was 7-5 again, or UCLA was 5-7 again, or UCLA was somewhere in between there or whatever. I don't think anybody would actually really be surprised, at this point. But it is just in the last week and a half. On one hand, I think it's very clear that all the douchebags out there that complain about UCLA not having any fans, they're proven wrong, because obviously we have fans, because we wouldn't be flying ridiculous, stupid banners in the air if we didn't have a fan base of some sort, right?
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, do you think that we probably all could act with a little more dignity, not just on social media, but just in general? Yeah, probably. And so, so I guess what I'm saying is, on one hand, it's heartening to know that there are other people that care about something as relatively meaningless to their actual life as I do, as far as like UCLA sports and UCLA football. There's other weirdos like us out there. That's good. But on the other hand, when things don't go our way, we sure do start to act pretty petulant and weird. And so hopefully we can find some sort of balance. So Mike, you're on the phone over there. You're eating your ravioli apparently. If you hear Mike slurping or chewing, it's because he's eating. He's pulling a bill.
I'm pulling a bill. I'm sorry.
And I'm not going to let him not be called out by that mother effer. But
so you heard that, right? God damn it! All right, I'm putting it aside for now.
That's okay. It's okay. That's okay. Eat up, big guy. But so I don't know. We're going to just kind of go through what has happened since the last time we did the show. Yeah, the week that was, and just kind of hit the big points, afterwards. But I'll just chronologically go through, and then we'll decide what we want to talk about after that, and we'll just go from there. So, since UCLA got murdered by Cal at the Rose Bowl, 33-7, a game in which they were favored by 9.5, and it made Megan happy, even though we could not go to the game. I'm very sad about that. But go Bears, I guess. UCLA.
Cheers to her.
Yeah, cheers to her. Yes. UCLA did get hit by the portal bug a little bit. Number one, Keegan Jones. We barely knew ye, but Keegan Jones has entered the portal first. We did not get to use the Mr. Jones drop nearly enough this year, and since Carl Jones is also matriculating out, we won't get to use it for him either. Along with Keegan Jones, Cam Brown, wide receiver, also entered the portal reportedly. Obviously, the portal is open today, but these were all things we heard in advance, right? That's accurate, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Then
Go ahead. I'm planning to do this. This player is expected to enter the portal. Stuff
they
like
released their silly photo that with their picture on the left and their narrative on the right as to why they appreciate UCLA, but they're about to move on. I got sick very quickly of seeing those from every person in college football doing one for every possible circumstance. But anyways, that's what happened. Next, Carson Ryan went into the portal.
Jake, the kids these days are extra.
I know.
We gotta let him have it.
I know. Carson Ryan went into
sorry, Jake. I didn't mean to interrupt. My daughter got mad at me for using mid the other day. She's like, "You're not cool enough. Don't say that." I'm like, "Wow,
that's hilarious." It really is. We're all, the world is reverting back, reverting back to how Bill Shirley talked like 10 years ago, where he abbreviated everything. Abbreviating abbreviations and things, and it really drives me up the wall.
Oh my god, I was like, that did get annoying after a while. It was cute for like 15 minutes, but
turns out he was.
Anyway, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. You went on to Carson Ryan.
Carson Ryan entered the portal. They used the wrong photo when he entered the portal. That was kind of fun.
Oh, that was hilarious.
Yeah, they used they used Carl Jones, right? No,
Medrano.
Yeah, Cam Medrano, who's the 20 on defense. That was exciting. And then the one that made the big major headlines, of course, was Dante Moore announcing he's going into the portal, and we'll talk more about Dante in a moment, so put a pin in that one. And then more recently, in the last couple of days, offensive lineman who came from Colorado last year, Jake Wiley, entered the portal. And then most recently, Willie Nemo, defensive back, entered the portal, I think today or yesterday as well, right? So that is all of the portal entries so far, right? Right, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, so, and then along with that, UCLA Athletic Director Martin Jarmon chose to give an interview to Bill Plaschke, but it was relatively uninspiring about what the plan for UCLA football is going forward, and retaining Chip and all that stuff, and left a lot of people unsatisfied. I thought it was kind of like, whatever, but we can talk more about that if you have thoughts on that particular interview, Mikey.
It was interesting just because, it was, we talk about coach speak. Well, that was athletic director speak. And it did just seem to kind of lean one way. I don't want to get into that aspect or the perception of it, but it did seem to lean a certain way compared to the answers that Jarmon gave. But it was, it also seemed like from Jarmon's point of view, like, you put this out there so that you have your statement out there, but again, coach speak, athletic director speak. It didn't bring any new information. Yes, they're going to talk about it, but they do that after every season.
Well, I did think that it
So
was.
it's just
Go ahead.
go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, just say like it just seemed like okay. I mean, I didn't get any new information out of it from Jarmond. I got new information out of it from Plashke, but no, from Jarmond it was like, oh, okay, you're basically saying what you're basically kind of like putting a silver lining on this with the fan base wanting a change. But yeah, like just for my take, I was like, I didn't learn anything new from Jarmond or Chip Kelly at that point.
Yeah, and from somebody like Plashke, who I don't know about the choice for Jarmond to give him the interview. Plashke he's actually ahead of his time in that he panned the Chip Kelly hire even when the Chip Kelly hire happened. So I certainly think he had his his own axe to grind a little bit. Not that there's too much that anybody is really arguing with him about as far as pointing out that the fans have asked for change and that all the different media outlets have basically asked for change. So that's nothing that's out of the norm as far as what Plashke is actually saying. But I did think it was interesting that in the interview, Jarmond talks about giving resources and tools to Kelly to compete in the Big Ten. And resources you would think would mean, I think there was even talk about like the assistant coaching salary pool. And on the heels of that interview, then we get the next bit of big news, and probably the most bitter, probably for all Bruin fans, considering it was one of the bright spots of the year. UCLA loses its young defensive coordinator, Lynn, going across town to SC, filling in their vacant DC spot that happened once they fired Alex Grinch 2/3 of the way through the season. So that was kind of a bummer. Kelly was quoted yesterday during the bowl interviews. He said they made a push to keep Danton, but obviously we weren't in the ballpark from that standpoint. So that, when you set that beside Jarmond's statement that they wanted to give Kelly the resources to compete, and then Kelly coming out pretty much the next day saying, well, we didn't really have the resources to compete in keeping Danton. I think that's kind of curious, and that's probably the most curious thing I can say about that whole thing. It is
I didn't
rather
catch that, but
frustrating.
yeah, no, that's an interesting point.
It is very frustrating, I would say. And then also the next thing that happened just in the last couple of days, another Bruin coach has gone upwards from the position. Ryan Gunderson, the quarterback's coach, has taken a promotion to offensive coordinator at OSU under their new staff after Smith has left for Michigan State. So, all of those things have happened. So now the Bruins are down a couple of coaches, most notably their defensive coordinator for sure. The Bruins are down a number of players so far. And let's be clear, the transfer portal just opened today, so we don't know who will be coming in to fill in the spots that have been vacated by these players. There's also going to be a number of players that are leaving for the NFL. There's going to be a lot of new faces on the UCLA squad next year, regardless whether it's whether it's optimistic or not. There will be a lot of change from this year to next year, and so we're kind of just waiting to see how that all plays out. And then finally, the last bit of news, Mike, before we can get deeper into some of these topics, is UCLA got settled for their bowl bid. And it's funny, if you would have told us at the beginning of the season that they would be in the local LA Bowl, I think we'd all be like, that's a bummer because they probably didn't do that good. But at the other hand, we'd probably be like, okay, that's cool. At least we can see them locally. But honestly, I don't know how many people will actually go to this game given the current climate and in kind of the buzz around the program right now. But it
definitely seems like there's going to be more Boise State fans.
Yeah, it seems like they have a lot more to be excited about as far as just what's going on right now, and that we might be prisoners of the moment for that. But hold on, they're playing Boise State, and Mike, their quarterback went into the portal, so they'll be quarterbackless. But they also hired a head coach, right?
Technically, they promoted a head coach.
That's right.
As interim head coach Spencer Danielson has been given the top job there.
Yeah. So as far as like you're trying to do the math on like bowl game motivation and stuff, I'm real curious to see what it's going to be like for the LA Bowl because it could go a whole bunch of different ways. But we'll talk more about the bowl in a few minutes, but certainly there is an opportunity, I think, for UCLA to salvage some good vibes if they go out and they have a good bowl game. Not that it really means anything in the long scheme of things. They go out there and get their butts kicked, and it really wouldn't have too much to do with the start of next season, I don't think. I don't think it would go a long way towards, if they get their butts kicked or if they kick butt. I don't think it's going to do a lot to change any one fan's opinion going into the offseason, but it certainly couldn't hurt. So we'll talk more about the LA Bowl in a few minutes, Mike. But what do you want to talk about first, a little bit more in depth? Do you want to talk about the departure of Dante Moore? Do you want to talk about the departure of Lynn? Or do you want to talk about the LA Bowl, Mike? I'll leave it up to you.
Well, there are also other factors we can get into in the bowl as well, like who's going to play. We just heard today that Caleb Williams out of USC is not going to play in the bowl, and obviously a lot of players do that so that they can protect themselves physically, literally, and financially to get prepared for the draft. Now, is that a question? Is that going to be? We saw that with Zach Charbonnet last year. He just said he wasn't going to play, and it was assumed that it was because he was preparing for the NFL draft and he didn't want to risk injury.
Well, and don't forget, Mike, you also saw the other side of that. DTR played, and then he got hurt in that abortion of a game.
Yeah, he's like, oh, great. So that question comes up for UCLA's top defensive player this year, and one of the top players in the freaking nation, Leatu Latu.
Mike, he's not playing in that game. There's 0.0% chance he's playing that game.
Chip Kelly talked during the press conference for the LA Bowl that he's going to talk with his family about it. I mean, there is a chance. Some
There's no
players
chance.
might want to go out in a blaze of glory, but
He does not.
for what he could potentially get, I really don't see him nor blame him for not participating in the LA Bowl, because that dude he's projected to be a top 5 pick.
Mike,
you don't want to mess with that.
If he plays in the LA Bowl, I will buy you a Sixer of your choice. Mike, if he plays in the LA Bowl, I will buy you
jersey.
a 12er of your choice. I'm not buying you a Latu jersey, but no, but a 12er of your choice. Because he's not playing. And you don't have to do anything if I win, because I already won because he's not playing. But so Mike, I asked you which one of these things you want to talk about, and you didn't answer me, but you did start talking about one of these things. So we'll talk about the LA Bowl first.
I just wanted to add to that really quickly, but yes, where do you want to go with this?
Well, we're going to be in the LA Bowl because you already started it. So it's on 12/16. So just a few, 12 days away or so. The Bruins will get their bowl practices, which is always exciting. It'll be on ABC, ESPN Plus, and it'll be at 4:30 p.m. So this is going to be on a Saturday, Mikey. And it is interesting for me because I'm actually, double booked now, and I'm double booked at SoFi, center proper, because the Bruins will be playing at SoFi that day, and presumably I will go and watch the game with dozens of other UCLA fans. And then right afterwards, I'm going to go over to the Kia Forum and watch Queens of the Stone Age, because I bought tickets for that like a couple months ago. So I don't know.
Nice.
So, but my problem will be if the game is like one of these stupid long games, or if it's, one of these stupid exciting bowl games, which, it may or may not be, will I be bent out of shape about walking out of SoFi early? Because if it's a 4:30 start, I'm pegging the concert to start maybe 8 or 9, I guess. So it probably should work out. So this actually is not the worst case scenario for your boy over here, considering that I was already going to be there, right? And now I just have something to do before the concert, which is go watch UCLA play in their last game of the year. So that's kind of cool, I guess. The Bruins come in to this. It opened, I think the Bruins -1, which is basically a pick 'em. Is it? I think it's at -3 now, if I remember right. But the Bruins are 7-5 overall. Boise State's 8-5 overall. What did Boise State even do this year? Did they win their championship game?
They won the conference championship. Yes, they beat UNLV.
Yeah. So you're looking at a team that is, they may be 8-5.
And they're a team that fired their head coach in the middle of the season. Thus, with having their interim coach take the reins for the rest of the season, winning it and thusly getting the job. Yeah.
Yeah, and they started 3-3. They started 3-4, and but they've won their last 4 games in a row. They beat New Mexico, Utah State, Air Force, and UNLV, and now they hired a head coach, and so you'd think that the vibes are pointing pretty good over there. And I don't know, just thinking of how UCLA has played in last year's bowl game, thinking about how UCLA has played in these relatively inconsequential out-of-conference matchups for the most part, you wouldn't peg this as the game in which UCLA comes in supremely motivated. But then on the other side of that, you're like, you really could see how, we saw how Chip was going into the SC game, kind of circle the wagon sort of mentality and having a real good performance. I don't know. I mean, you never know how to predict these things, but would I be surprised if UCLA came out and played well, depending on who their quarterback is? I don't know. I mean, who knows? Mike, what's your first feeling on this game?
It's just weird because I automatically try to do a quick matchup in my head, and just looking at what UCLA has been, we really have no idea who's going to quarterback. It's not going to be Dante Moore. Although we actually don't know that, because Chip Kelly also said that if there are players that want to stick around and practice while they're examining the transfer portal. But the way that divorce happened, especially with Dante Moore's grandma going on a Facebook group and saying that Chip Kelly did not develop him, and then Dante Moore talking to 24/7 Sports and say that he wants to go to a place that develops him. Yeah, he's gone. Definitely gone. But hey, there's still a chance.
No, there's not.
Yeah, no,
I'll buy you another 12er.
Oh, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah, you get a lot of beer.
But I mean, if it's Ethan Garbers, honestly, he has been the most consistent.
Is he healthy?
Yeah. Apparently, Chip said that he should be, all right. They're not. I don't think they're practicing until next week. But
is he going to be healthy past the first series and a half?
We'll see.
Exactly.
Oh man, Justin Martin, suit up. But yeah, it's exactly. You and I are proving my point. We have no idea what's going to happen with the offense and what Chip's going to have to pull, out of his hat to try to win this bowl game. Which, and even defensively, we could probably say that UCLA's defense. I mean, I need to study Boise State a little bit more, but just from my preliminary analysis of them, it's like this is a team that UCLA could defensively stuff in a locker and just really limit them offensively. Giving the offense some sort of hope for a win, but there isn't even that, and it's unfortunate considering where this team could have been, but. It's just so weird, not just because of a UCLA aspect, but because of how the way the postseason is, and that time in between the end of the regular season and conference championships to actual bowl season. So much can happen. So many players are leaving, via the transfer portal. Coaches are leaving. I have no idea what's going to happen in this game, honestly.
No, I don't think we could have any idea what's going to happen in this game. Maybe just look back to last year to Pittsburgh. At Pittsburgh, we basically played Pittsburgh's JV squad, and they had the game in their hands and then kind of pissed it away in the process and got DTR hurt along the way. And like looking at this game this year, it's we think that they should be able to stuff the Boise State Broncos offense theoretically, right? Because they have such a good defense. But then again, do they have a good defense? They're not going to have a defensive coordinator. They're probably not going to have their best player, or not probably. They're not going to have their best player, and they may not have a number of other guys, depending on who decides to actually play in the game and who doesn't decide to play in the game. So how effective they will be certainly is up in the air. So that's a big wild card, along with the fact that, we presume that Garbers will be ready to play, but, who really knows, because they haven't really had a solid answer to the question of who the quarterback is for about 3 months. So, it's all kind of, up in the cloud. And I would just say, go into this game not expecting anything good or bad, and just go, have fun watching UCLA play football for the last time this year, and just don't have any expectations other than that, and maybe we'll get a pleasant surprise, I guess. it is kind of funny to me just looking at first glance at this, Mike, and you look at the quarterback comparison they have on the ESPN right now is Dante Moore, who's not going to play in the game, versus Taylor Green, who just decided he's going to like both these quarterbacks that are listed on the page basically are transferring out of their programs, but Green played for Boise State all season. And when you look at his stats side by side with Moore, who played about half a season for, really, their stats are almost identical. Moore is 114 for 213. Green is 121 for 212. So almost the same amount of passes, almost the same amount of completions.
Wow.
Moore threw for slightly less yards, 1610, and Green was at 1752. But they both threw 11 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. So on one hand, this Green kid it's a big shocking blow that he's leaving the program, but he actually played the whole season. And Moore, it's a big shocking blow theoretically that he leaves UCLA, and he accumulated all of Green stats in less than half a year of playing. So that is kind of funny to look at that. And of course we'll talk about Moore in a minute, but I don't know, Mike. I don't think there will be a big turnout for the LA Bowl, even though the Bruins are playing in the LA Bowl. And the fun fact that Jamaal sent us yesterday was the Bruins are playing in a stadium for their bowl game that's closer than their actual stadium at the Rose Bowl. It was like 15 miles compared to 25 miles or something.
Yeah.
But I still don't think that bodes well for fan participation in this game. But I'd be happy if I were wrong. But you would think this would be a game that you should be able to draw some people to, considering number one, it's on a Saturday. Number two, it's in your town. And number three, why not? Right? There's nothing. What else is there really to do? So, with that being said, do you think it's going to be well attended or not, Mikey?
I don't know. I think there are going to be those hardcore fans that go anyway. Despite the fact that we live in the Twitterverse, there are fans that do not engage in social media or especially the Twitters, and just want to support their UCLA team. Although that does seem to be getting fewer and fewer these days. I think there will also be. I think there'll be a pretty decent turnout, but nothing to write home about, I guess. It's not going to break records. It's, there's going to be those fans that are honestly boycotting UCLA football, flying banners around, and just not want to do anything to give money to this program until Chip Kelly is gone. So that because of that last statement, I think it won't be. It is hard to say, but I do have a feeling that there might be. We might see more blue and orange than we will blue and gold.
I'm curious. Last year, the bowl game, which was the Tony Tiger Bowl, the Mighty Sun Bowl, they drew 41,000 out there in Texas, and I don't know how many of those were Pittsburgh versus UCLA fans, obviously. The last home game they just played against Cal, where they got murdered by the Golden Bears, they drew 42,000. And then the home game before that, where they got beat by Arizona State in just a terrible, terrible game, they had one of their best home attendance of the season, inexplicably. That was 56,000. That beat every other game other than the Colorado game. So I'm curious to see what the attendance will be for this game. But being on a Saturday, being in your town, it should be decent, but I don't think it will be. So that remains to be seen. We may or may not do another show before the actual bowl game. So if we don't, Mike, what's your first take on who's going to win this game?
Like I said a few minutes ago, I have no idea because, honestly, I'm pretty sure. So the game is a week from this coming Saturday. So almost 2 weeks away. First off, how many announcements are we going to have about entering the transfer portal, and how many announcements are we going to have about seniors bypassing the bowl game to prepare for the NFL draft? I think right now it is too early for me. Like, let's say that both teams are intact. I would say UCLA has the edge to win this game, but I have no idea who's going to be here or not. So it just makes it that much freaking harder to try to game plan, to try to predict what the hell's going to happen on both sides as well.
Yes, but Mike, I didn't ask you to not predict what was going to happen. I asked you to predict what was going to happen. So if you had to give me a winner right now, who would it be? UCLA is a 3-point favorite, and the over/under is 50.5. So Boise State wins. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I think at this point I'd have to pick the old Broncos too, just based on the overall chi. But I'd be happy to see the Bruins win. That would be nice. I would like that, especially if we're going to go to the game. Why not? Let's have the Bruins win. But yeah, I think I have to side with you on that one. Let's get to some of the departures and how it makes us feel. We talked about the transfer portal departures, and before we get to the big one, which is the Bruins' latest 5-star flameout. Apparently not. Let's talk about the other guys real quick. Presumably there will be more, not Dante more, but more guys leaving the program. But with Keegan Jones, Sha-la-la-la-la, farewell, Cam Brown, Carson Ryan, Jake Wiley, Willie Nemo, and whoever else is next, do any of those scream at you like any of those in and of themselves scream at you, oh my God, I can't believe player X just left, and what's that going to do to us, Mike? Or are these all kind of like just how would you characterize these departures? Separate though, put bracket more, and talk about the other ones.
The one that sticks out, I would say, is Jake Wiley, because he was here for a season. I mean, he transferred in from Colorado after Colorado's spring game earlier this year. So the fact that he didn't even stay with UCLA an entire cycle, but he also didn't play that much, which, coach's decision, who knows why, but he obviously wants, to play now. That just, we only have to speculate at this point, but it's like, why is, someone that can help with a depth, maybe it is development or talent, but we don't know if that's on the player or the coaches or whatnot. It's just stuff like that where it's like, why didn't this work out? I saw a tweet from, I think it was Jordan Anderson's mom, saying that she kind of like they regretted coming to UCLA because they wasted his final year of eligibility, and there's obviously frustration with not getting playing time, but coaches also have to figure out how to appease their players. This is not just a hey, I'm the coach and I'm going to run things. This is a your players have a say now too, especially in the era of NIL. And I'm not saying that that's what's going on with Wiley or Anderson, but players have a voice, and they're gonna try to do what's best for them. And if they don't feel like they're taken care of, then they're gonna go elsewhere. And so basically the Wiley transfer was kind of like, oh, okay, well that's just interesting. The other ones I can kind of see, Keegan Jones he hasn't gotten as much playing time as maybe people thought he should. I did particularly. But yeah, obviously the more one is the biggest one. But other than that, it's like I can kind of see why some of these players are making the decision that they are.
Yeah, no, I could see why Jake Wiley would raise some eyebrows, considering he's an offensive lineman leaving out of this group, and it's something where you don't ever want to lose a guy coming in playing that position. However, it's like you said, Mike, he didn't really play. He came in from Colorado, and I think a lot of people thought he would get a lot of playing time, and it didn't turn out that way. And so you can kind of see how he might be, how he might want to leave after his experience this season. And I think that really, Cam Brown, you could definitely say the same thing. Keegan Jones, even though he got on the field and he had some really bright moments this season, certainly you could paint the picture of him being underutilized, and really just exactly as you said, Mike. The one that stuck out to me the most was Carson Ryan, probably, because he definitely had, between him and Jones, they both had a couple really nice highlight plays this year. But when you look at what the depth is at the positions they play, well, you kind of can see it because, Mr. Jones is playing behind the man of steel, presumably, and TJ Harden still. So, I mean, if he wants to get featured somewhere, he's probably going to get featured ahead of those two going into next season, no matter how it turns out. So you kind of see it then, right? And as far as Carson Ryan goes, yeah, I thought he had some great plays where he flashed big time this year, but at the same time, he's still back there, presumably with two returners, Habermill and Matavao. So, and those guys are certainly probably going to get more playing time than he would get coming into this year. If he already felt like it was a crowded room. So, in that regard, it's not good to see, oh, this guy enters the portal, this guy enters the portal, this guy enters the portal, and of course it's we had 5-6 players already, but other than the Dante Moore one, which we'll get to in a moment, none of these are hitting me like inexplicable, right? You can kind of see how going into the season we thought we had a pretty crowded rooms as these in position groups, and this seems like almost like natural transfers out of the program. Guys that were here and competed, and for whatever reason they didn't end up at the top of the pile. So they're choosing to move on, and it makes sense to agree. All right, Mike. Well, let's talk about the big departure, and that would be Dante Moore leaving through the transfer portal and kind of burning some bridges on the way out for sure. You already mentioned, Mike, his grandma flaming UCLA on whatever platform she was on. Was that like a Facebook thing?
It was a Facebook group.
Yeah,
it was a Facebook group. Yeah.
And then Moore, he was doing an interview with 24/7, another branch of the parent site for Bro, and he says, quote, "For the next upcoming years, I just want to go to a place where I can get developed. The main thing is really development, making sure you're bettering yourself every day and having a staff around you that's going to help develop you." Once again, develop 3 times in 2 sentences. So I'd say the biggest things are going to a place where I can get developed 4 times and continue to love and have fun playing football and be around a place that loves college football and be around great athletes. So he didn't necessarily say that UCLA wasn't doing those things, but that's certainly the implication. So young Dante Moore, after getting the chance to skyrocket himself to fame at UCLA, and instead throwing pick sixes in 3-4 consecutive games, and then coming back late in the year and getting clobbered in the Cal game, he kind of walks out the door kind of with deuces, double middle fingers in the air. What are your thoughts on Dante leaving there, Mike?
Kind of surprising. Kind of not. I mean, we heard from beforehand that there might be a situation in which Dante Moore wanted something, and if he didn't get it, would probably look elsewhere. Well, I don't think that was the situation, because he got what he wanted. I'm sure the NIL was pretty decent, maybe not as great. I just think the lack of pizzazz and glamour with the team overall might have been an issue, and the fact that there's so much fan apathy, and especially fans getting after him too. But at the same time, don't throw an interception every game. It's like, he is still a true freshman. Should he have been out there? There are opinions for and against it. But it just didn't seem, especially halfway through the season, it didn't seem like it was something that was going to work out. I didn't notice it at the time, but kind of looking back, it just seemed like, okay, maybe this was a rushed relationship. Maybe both parties can go find something that helps them out, going forward. But if this isn't what Dante wants, he shouldn't be here. And that almost sounded like, hey, get out of here. No, not at all. literally, if this is not what he thinks can best help him with his football career, then yes, he should go find something that absolutely fits what he wants to do. And UCLA is just going to have to move on from there. Uh, that's recruiting anyway. You have to go look for the future. You have to find your next players at this spot, this spot, and this spot, especially at the quarterback spot. And there's some rumblings about certain quarterbacks out there, but hey, it didn't work. Move on. Life goes on. The sun's going to come up tomorrow. Blah blah blah.
I would just say that maybe at this point UCLA can finally just stop going after 5-star guys, considering our very up and down history, mostly down history, especially recent history with 5-star recruits. I will, if you look at on 24/7 the all-time Bruin recruits of all, ranking wise before they come into the program, and it is kind of a rogues gallery at this point. Our top 5, our number 1 is one that ended in despair.
Jalen Phillips at UCLA.
Then we have Dante Moore. We had Cheeseburger Eddie. That one worked out good, but we kind of accidentally got him from Notre Dame. And then you have Josh Rosen, and that worked out depending on how you look at it. Michael Hanna's still in love with him, and he was a perfectly fine Bruin. But I'll have more to say about Moore and Rosen specifically in a minute. But then the number 5 one is Mike Juarez.
Hey, Mike! Where are you? Over here.
So I'm like, in the last 3 5-star recruits for the Bruins have all ended in relative disaster. Probably more the least disaster of all of them, because he actually, played meaningful minutes for the Bruins. I guess Jalen Phillips did too, but then, he got injured and hurt and started pouting, and then now he's in the NFL. But when you look at Moore and Rosen, Rosen, I don't think it through any fault of his own, but to me, I still think he kind of turned the Jim Mora era down, took it to its downturn, just because Mora went out of his way to change his entire offensive system to accommodate Rosen, and that turned out to be just change after change after change that took him down a path that wasn't good for anybody involved. And now with Dante Moore, it's like, if Dante Moore never comes to the Bruins last year, it just gets to be Garber's job that he inherits. They get Schlee in the portal, and it's just a much more, Garber's gets a much more fair opportunity to win the job in game 1, and you can kind of see a world in which Garbers and Schlee end up piloting the Bruins to more consistent quarterback play once the conference season starts. But instead, we are all excited about Moore, and rightfully so. He came out and played well in the non-con, but then by the time conference season comes about, he's obviously not ready for it, and that kind of, to a large degree, kind of killed the prospects for the Bruins this year. And I honestly don't think that's that much of fault of Moore, other than just he wasn't ready, and we didn't know that he wasn't ready until we found out that he wasn't ready. And there's really no way to kind of foresee that, but that's the way it turned out, in hindsight's 2020, obviously. But if Moore had never come here, wouldn't have to worry about it, So I don't know. I'm definitely conflicted. I hope that he does do well wherever he goes, I guess, unless he's on a team that plays the Bruins next year, then I hope he sucks. But I do wish him the best. But I guess it wasn't meant to be, and I'm not a real big fan of the kind of the trash talking out the door. But then again, it doesn't seem like anybody's really in the mood not to trash talk Kelly and what he's got going on now. So it doesn't seem, it just kind of like, it kind of fits the motif right now. So I guess it's like just one more thing to talk about, I guess, Mike.
I mean, yeah, that's how I feel about it. I mean, that's like, what do you have to say about this? Like, fans are rightfully upset because of how this season ended. It's not just the fact that UCLA lost to Arizona State and Cal. It's how they lost to both of those teams, and then to in a rather quick turnaround lose one of your starting quarterbacks and your defensive coordinator, who just took you from mediocre to elite. and losing to USC of all teams. Like that one hurts as just as well. But it is a business, and Lynn has to do what's best for him. UCLA couldn't compete in that aspect financially,
Why not?
and
Like Mike, as usual, you're transitioning, ahead of your time. That's okay. We're talking about it. We've closed the book on Moore, and now we're talking about Danton Lynn going to SC. But the news comes out that Danton Lynn is in fact hired crosstown, but coming off of a tremendous, wonderful victory in the Crosstown Showdown, and the Bruins the Trojans pull a page out of the Bruins books, where Chip Kelly likes the look of J. Michael Sturdivant when they're playing the Golden Bears last year, and he goes out and gets him in the transfer portal. Chip Kelly likes the way that Oladipo looks when he's looking across the field at him, as he makes like 30 tackles against the Bruins last year, and then goes out and gets him in the transfer portal. Well, USC is like, oh, geez, that guy looks like he can coach during the Crosstown Showdown. And so then they go and they apparently spend the last week making overtures at Danton Lynn, and they seal the deal. My question is, well, we just heard Martin Jamaal said he's going to do whatever he can to give Chip Kelly the tools he needs to compete in the Big Ten, and we're getting Big Ten money, and I don't give a crap how much money the fans are or not contributing to the men of Westwood. They're not paying. The men of Westwood aren't paying the coaches' salaries. So if you have a guy that you're excited about, why would you let him leave? And to a degree, maybe you don't have a choice, because you could definitely point to, we talked about it with Moore, and we talked about it with the transfers. The chi in the room, the juju of the program is certainly on a downturn, it seems like, to all of us. So maybe that's why they lost Danton Lynn, right? Maybe if they had a better result in the season, it would have been easier to keep him. And certainly that's an acceptable answer. But at the same time, that's not what Chip Kelly said. He said, oh, gee whiz. He said, I already said the quote a minute ago. He said, we made a push to keep Danton. Obviously, we weren't in the ballpark. Well, why weren't you in the goddamn ballpark? You just lost him to your crosstown rival and your conference foe that presumably you're competing on equal, it's an equal playing field. It should be. Why isn't it?
Well, two big things is that USC is a private school and UCLA is part of the UC regions, and that might be an issue with the regions.
Well, how much are they paying him? I mean, are they paying him $5 million?
I don't know, but apparently, so Lynn was getting $1 million at UCLA. Apparently, he's going to get $2 million at USC, and the fact that that's already a lot for UCLA, for a UC school to pay for an assistant, not just a head coach, but an assistant. That's just a bit rough for UCLA, especially since there's just question marks about what is going on with the head coaching position. There were, I don't even know. It's the fact that the fan base is not happy. So obviously there's going to be I've seen so many people say that they have given up making donations to the football team, to the Wooden Athletic Fund, and that is kind of that's the consequence of all this. It's
they're not getting an assistant coach because fans aren't donating to the program. Like they have this giant Big Ten contract, and it's one coach, and it's not even like he's not going to get paid more than Chip Kelly. He's not going to get paid more than Chip Kelly at SC. Like, it's just, this is your one, this is a coach that you found, pretty much, you're the one who gave him his first shot, and he leaves at the first opportunity because you can't, match a salary across town. I think that to me, this whole situation, that's the most shameful thing. That's ridiculous, in my opinion. Now, how he's going to do it, SC, we can talk about that, but by no means is he a slam dunk hire for SC. It certainly is a kind of an in your face moment for SC, but a lot of their fans wanted them to get someone that was, a more established, household name, so to speak, in the college football coordinator category, and he certainly isn't that. He's a guy that's kind of like the hot prospect right now that's coming off of one good season. Our friends at Raina Troy kind of compared it to their Andy Enfield hire. It's like, well, he just went deep in the tournament, but do we really know how good he is? Not really. And you could argue as to how well or how not well Enfield has paid off as their basketball coach, but it's a similar hire in that it's, like I said, the hot guy who doesn't really have the longest track record. He's been coaching for 10 years. He was only a coordinator for one. He's comes from obviously a well, established coaching, lineage, in that his dad was a head coach in the NFL, and he played in the NFL himself, and he's coached in the NFL as a position coach. But it's not the no-brainer slam dunk. This is the sitting superstar DC that a lot of SC fans were expecting them to go out and hire. And by the way, the money he's getting paid isn't requisite with that either. So, like I said, to me, it's just it's really frustrating that UCLA would let him go across town without would let him go across town. That's the bottom line is. How do you think it will actually work out for him? How do you think he will do over at SC, Mike?
I've thought about that as well. On like two different levels. Like first off, him going to USC, they're going to get guys, and this is just going to inspire recruiting. Defenders are going to want to play for this guy. And being at USC, I think in no time, if
why do you say that, Mike?
Turns out to be legit. USC is going to have a very good defense, but as you said, we don't exactly know how he. Is this a flash in the pan? But because I also think that he went into a situation with UCLA where the cupboard was fully stocked. He had so much to work with, and we saw a development in the secondary, which had been that had been the huge weakness in the chain, but the weak link to UCLA's defense the last few years. Now he comes in and it's at least decent with an elite front seven defensive line. That kind of worked out for everybody, but we don't know exactly what what USC is going to be like under Lynn. But I can imagine there, especially with inspiration, kind of like life injected into the defense. This could work out, immediately. But and I think there's a better chance of that than it may be stumbling, because I don't think they have the players, right now. They're still kind of struggling to play together. So I think he will have more. I don't think he's going to be elite in his first year with USC, but I think he's going to make them just good enough to make USC a contender next year.
Yeah, I don't see how he couldn't make them better, considering they're about as bad as they could possibly be. But there are things that you can point to that you talk about specifically. His improvement of the defensive backs at UCLA. They definitely did improve, but at the same time, they didn't play nearly the level of competition they played in the last couple of years before now. So that kind of is a jury's out kind of mark. The defense was absolutely notably better, but you wonder how he will do at SC when he doesn't have the Murphy twins, and he doesn't have Latu, and he doesn't have Carl Jones, right? And I would say that, part of this podcast is us kind of providing all of us wayward Bruin fans a way to cope with the offseason, considering it's going to be, even if we are very bullish on the program, which aren't too many people that are, but even if you are, you still have to deal with the trolls out there. They're going to be talking trash about Kelly and talking trash about SC hiring Lynn away and talking trash about just in general the overall, the feel of the programs, right? The feels in the program, because those are all kind of down. And what I would say to any SC fan that's like talking about Lynn getting hired, well, until they play a game next year, we're not going to know. And I would just say your response should be, yeah, congratulations. Good luck without Latu and the Murphy twins and Carl Jones. Like that would be the canned response to that question, right? And any SC fans talking shit, just, at least for 9 months, we get to enjoy the fact that we kicked their ass this year and just, point to the scoreboard, I guess. And I would also say that you still, until we actually have games played on the field next year, we can point to the fact that SC is just UCLA this year, a year behind, right? They're also losing their superstar quarterback. DTR left the Bruins last year, and they ended up scoring 10 points a game this year. Well, Caleb's leaving USC this year, and so maybe they'll be scoring 10 points a game next year. The jury's still out on all of those things. So all I can say is, be very petulant and obnoxious to any SC fan trying to step to you, because, that's all we have at this point. But I'm with you, Mike. I'd be surprised if they're not notably better, because I think that he is a pretty darn good coach, and I am sad to see him go. But I am wondering how much he actually can improve that defense, because I'm sure they have guys that are talented, but you wonder, with UCLA, I thought that the defense had gotten better every year, and last year, a lot of the struggling, I think, was due to the unfortunate situation that was the coaching situation, right? They'd shown improvement, and then when Bill McGovern fell ill, that kind of disrupted a lot of the improvement that was starting to show. And so I think that last year's defense certainly didn't finish as strong. It wasn't a real reflection of how good they were. And so I think that when Lynn came in, they were kind of ready to be a lot better, and then he bumped them up even more because he is a quality coach. Does that make sense, Mike?
Yeah, totally.
So I don't know. SC just seems like a smoldering wreck right now as far as their defense goes. And so I don't know if you can really point to them having any sort of progression forward. Like they've just been getting worse and worse and worse. And so it certainly is a big job for him to take over. But Mike, you are right. They're probably going to get a little bit of buzz off this hire because it does seem like an up-and-coming coach. And if they can bring in guys right away to help out their defense, kind of like Leak and Riley brought in guys to help out their offense right away, they could have a pretty quick turnaround. But whatever. This is not an SC podcast, and F those guys. We are sad to see Lynn go, and it is frustrating to me that they lose him. And it is very frustrating to me, the quotes about them losing him. And he's already out there on the recruiting trail taking pictures in SC uniform, so in his gear. So gee whiz. That's just great. So really, Mike, the only other thing I want to talk about regarding football is I wanted to do a podcast about kind of recalibrating our expectations, because I haven't been very satisfied with how fans have been acting, and even quite frankly how we've been acting the last few weeks. I don't like reacting to every game like it's a disaster or like it's some amazing win, but in fact, I don't think you can characterize the last 3 games as anything but disasters or terrific wins, right? The game against SC was a big, awesome, cool win. But the other 2 games were absolute disasters. But I don't like our emotions flitting up and down like that. And so I really wanted to just do a podcast once everything kind of had settled and just talk about kind of recalibrating our expectations. Chip Kelly is the coach of UCLA. Does that mean that they won't be able to win a game ever again? Absolutely not. Does that mean that he has no clue how to coach a football team? Absolutely not. He's a pretty good football coach, all things being considered. Now, we all kind of think he should move on because it kind of feels like there's a lot of baggage that is unresolved and just kind of hanging there, and it's going to be hard to get fans back on board. And Mike, stop me if I mischaracterize anything, right? It's like, I don't think either me or you have any super negative feelings towards Chip, the coach, other than the fact that he just hasn't gotten the wins he's needed. And in fact, he's gotten a couple losses that are kind of, inexcusable. And it's just led to a spiraling down of the perceived momentum of the program and the engagement of the fans. And that's kind of where I feel that it's kind of gotten to an untenable point. But it doesn't mean that I don't think Chip can coach, can coach anymore. I think he's still a pretty decent football coach, all things being considered. But
yeah,
I kind of just want to get through the offseason and get to the time where we're playing more games again, so we don't have to listen to all of the discourse about it over and over and over again. But it just seems like every day there's another story about, another hit that keeps coming. You lose your DC. You lose, transfers and all this stuff. Go ahead.
Well, that's what I was thinking about today. Obviously, like Friday night through the weekend, it just seemed like doom and gloom. Like everything was just spiraling down. And then I started thinking about it. trying to be a rational human being, an adult, a rational adult. It's like, look what Chip Kelly has done so far. Now, for those that want to chastise me or before they hear what I have to say, I get it. But this could not be horrible, as you were kind of alluding to, because Chip Kelly has done well in certain coaching hires. He's done well in the transfer portal. I mean, he pulled Danton Lynn out of thin air. Why couldn't he do that again? That seems, I really don't think that's impossible. Improbable, yes. But I think he'll be able to find someone, even if he promotes, like a lot of people are saying, Ken Norton, give him the job. I think, especially with the continuity, that would be a really good thing. Is he the best choice? I don't know, but he's also done well with, and this is weird. As we were talking, I saw some reports that Dylan Gabriel, we talked about him, how he might be a choice for UCLA, how he committed to Oregon, but I don't see enough outlets confirming that. So, it's just interesting how quickly things move in this transfer portal era. But UCLA might get, a stud. Justin Martin might come out of nowhere and be, the next DTR. Chip Kelly might pull like 5 offensive linemen out of the portal out of nowhere. We might get some edge rushers to just fill in. God, they need help on defense, though. That is not a secret. But, Chip Kelly hasn't proven to be a horrible recruiter or hirer of coaches.
Wait, he hasn't?
Okay. Okay, you've got me there. Yeah, that as an arrow, that was not good. But he's improved. Let's say that with recruiting, coaching hires have improved as well. So there's that. So what happens next year if UCLA turns out another 8-4 team? That's the thing.
Mike, I think we would all be very happy with 8-4 next year if you look at the team in the schedule. Then that's that the first year in the new crappy Big Ten and all that stuff, and you look at the games they're actually playing, right? Their conference games. 8-4 would be, a success.
Oh, you kidding me though?
Unqualified
there would still
success.
Be all those fans would be like, "Oh, 8-4, we can't get 10 wins."
I don't think so. Not next year.
That's. It seems like that's the battle these days, Jake.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we'd all be thrilled with 8-4 looking at the schedule next year. Mike, here, this is what I was really getting at, right? We can't really recalibrate our expectations yet because we don't know where the bottom is. Because honestly, I think we need to brace for the fact that they're probably going to lose this bowl game to Boise State. I know they're favored right now, but we all kind of feel like that looks like a game where they very easily could lose, especially thinking about how they performed last year against Pittsburgh. And then we probably still need to brace ourselves for further transfer defections and decommits. There's been a number of those in the last couple of weeks, and now the Bruins are down to number 59 in the country in the current recruiting class. And we also need to brace ourselves for probably, I know you said that he could hire get a good coordinator hire, but we also need to be bracing ourselves for possibly an uninspired DC hire, at least on the face. Like, we won't know how it works out until we actually get to next season, but depending on who he hires, we're probably not going to know anything, and it's probably not going to give any buzz, right? So we just need to be prepared for an off season where it's just going to be a lot of negative talk and just kind of, take it and go into next season and hope it gets turned around, I guess. The things that might make it not as bad as it could be would be, well, the Bruins come out, they play well in the bowl game. Who knows? That could happen. The Bruins come out and make a DC hire that, isn't some sort of life or retread that has a little bit of upside like they did with the Danton Lynn hire. The Bruins, you already mentioned it, Mike, they get some positives in the transfer portal, right? Those would be all things that could help turn it around a little bit, but just the way that I hate the narratives, but I mean, the way the narrative is right now, it's about as low as it's ever been in the Kelly era. And that's really the kind of the difference for me. It's like This is the first year when we have to deal with a record under Kelly that is worse than the year before, right? And that is really kind of given the Boo Birds kind of carte blanche to say whatever the heck they want. And then, by the way, like I said, you look at the performance on the field, and 2 of the last 3 games have just been some of the worst games that Kelly has coached as the Bruin coach. You know, and you can qualify it by, oh, he didn't have a starting quarterback and all this stuff, but there's no excuse for losing to Arizona State. Just watch that game over again and tell me how you managed to lose that game, you know? And the game to Cal is a little more understandable, I guess, because, like you said, you didn't have a quarterback that could actually play, because Dante Moore certainly looked like he could play there. You know, good luck to whoever gets him if that's the Dante Moore you're getting, because he didn't seem capable, right? So, you know, you can kind of see the Cal game a little more, but that ASU game was so dreadful, and that's what's got people all, you know, kind of Twitter pated or whatever. So I am just hoping we can find kind of like rock bottom as far as like the, you know, the feeling around the program, so that we can just kind of settle and then just kind of figure out how we feel about it and move on, because you know, at this point it doesn't look like there's going to be any sort of change, and we just have to kind of got to make it through the off season to next season, and it's going to be a long 9 months or whatever, but you know, we'll see how it lands.
Yeah. Go LA Bowl. Hosted by Hey Jake. Let's get Gronk for the game.
Let's do
just pregame, get totally Gronk.
I'm very excited, Mike, as you can tell. All right. Well, like I said, I didn't want to do this podcast. Mike did, and now it's his fault. So enjoy yourself.
Oh, it's my fault.
Let's talk about stupid basketball and all these other stupid sports. So the Bruins almost lost to UC Riverside. Go Highlanders. There can only be one. Apparently can only win by 1 point. Mikey, what do you want to say about the basketball program?
That was a rough game to watch. And I thought that the team, because we talked about it last week, they for long stretches, they look good against Marquette and Gonzaga, despite how bad portions of those games were. It was just unwatchable. But it continued at home against UC Riverside, a team that has a lot less talent. UCLA definitely needs to really work on their 3-point defense. They need to focus on. They don't have like a top defender that can take out the opponent's top offensive player. And it's still just like a work in progress, but it's a little rough. It's a little rough to start.
Yeah. So far they have a quality loss to Marquette. I mean, that certainly is going to go into that category, even though they lose that game. And then they have a less of a quality loss to Gonzaga. They have some chance, a couple chances now to get some nice wins out of conference before the conference season starts. At Villanova, coming up on the 9th. And then they host Ohio State, and they host Maryland as well. Or are those host games, or are they like in some sort of tournament somewhere? Do you know, Mike?
No, host.
Okay, yeah, they're
home and home. The Maryland was home and home.
Yeah, okay. And then in they also have Northridge on the schedule in the non-con before they start the conference season. So right now they're sitting at 5-2. They got 4 more non-conference games to play. Do you think that they can make it through the rest of the non-con unscathed, or are they going to be in trouble when they go to Villanova at the end of the week?
I don't think UCLA is going to win that game, mostly because and Villanova has had its troubles. They just lost their last game, but they're still more of a seasoned team that has worked together for a little bit more than what is. I mean, this roster kind of has been slapdash, considering how many players they lost from last season. Mick Cronin had to put together a team full of talented players, but it is going to take a little bit of time. And not only do you have the different basketball backgrounds, but those backgrounds are from different countries. So it might be a language barrier. There might be basketball style differential, but Mick Cronin seems to be able to get players to understand what he wants, and it also didn't help that the fact that he was out with COVID last week. So,
Right.
first off, it was such a charm to chat with Darren Savino, and obviously he's stepping up as an assistant coach, but he even admitted that he cannot wait to slide back down to the assistant coach's spot and have Mick Cronin come back. But that put a little bit of a delay in the progress. But I think they'll. I thought about this several times. I think what they did against Marquette, where they showed flashes of greatness, they'll be able to do that against Villanova. But the fact that this is a true road game, I think that might add an extra layer to what is predestined as a loss. But other than that, the rest of the non-con, I think UCLA has a chance. That the UCR game, just it seemed a bit rough, but it also seems like it could be a jumping off point.
Well, I will say this: Villanova has a really tough schedule around their matchup with UCLA. They're on the road at Kansas State a few days, or actually, it's tomorrow night. It looks like, and then right after UCLA, they play Creighton at Creighton. So that's going to be a home game in between two big road games for them. So I mean, you never know at what point they're going to catch Villanova. They do have that in their favor, I would say, because Villanova's got a big stretch of tough games going on. But we'll see. I mean, I guess we can kind of hope for the best and see how it goes. ESPN certainly doesn't believe in the Bruins. But then again, ESPN usually doesn't believe in the Bruins. But an 83% favorite for Villanova in that game, according to the ESPN matchup predictor. I don't see a line here. Do you know what the line is on that one, Mikey?
No, I do not know.
Yeah, well, it looks like it's pretty ugly, whatever it is. But I guess we'll have to see how that goes. Mike, you have much more optimistic news on the women's basketball front, I believe, don't you?
Yeah. UCLA women's basketball is what's keeping the athletic department afloat these days. That and water polo. But the Bruins are 7-0 for the third weekend in a row. They are ranked second in the nation. Again, we talked about this a few weeks ago. That's the highest they've ever been ranked in program history. And yeah, the Bruins they just continue to kick ass. Gabriela Jaquez, both her and Lauren Betts were able to pull down double doubles. There are 5 Bruins in double digits in scoring for the season. This team, we've talked about it several times. This team has looked really good under Corey Close the last 5 seasons, I would say, but it just didn't come together. And now it just seems like it really has. We've talked about how there's veteran experience as well as a lot of young talent, which is helping out, and new talent too. Like Lauren Betts is just freaking killing it right now. There's just a lot of positivity with this team going forward, and they, when I saw that they got the number, what were they at the preseason, 4 or 5, I was like, okay, I can understand that. But with any preseason rankings, teams obviously have to prove it, and they have gone above and beyond what. Not that I'm the UCLA women's basketball expert, but just seeing how they've performed. In
Iron Mike.
I am not taking credit for any of that. I just know what I see, and they've been good, but this is a really, really good basketball team, and they just are. Here's one of the biggest things: they are clicking. There are times in the last few seasons, even last season, where they would have really good stretches, but then they would kind of have lulls. There are very few lulls in their games. They for the first few games of the season, they seemed to underperform in the second quarter, but that seemed to have been adjusted in the last few games. The fact that they beat UConn, the number 6 team in the nation, who is still a top 25 team, and the Bruins just took down Arkansas on Sunday.
First true road game.
Another good team. They took them down 81-66
in Fayetteville.
Oh yeah, it's just really fun basketball to watch right now. And yeah, you just talked about it. They are CSUN is in town on Thursday, and then they go to.
To be fair,
this
Mike,
is weird.
CSUN's always in town. They're in the same town.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. It's a trip over the hill. It's basically going to your high school volleyball game.
Yeah.
You know. But then they do have a bit of a challenge against Florida State in a neutral site zone in Uncasville, Connecticut.
Eek.
And finally, dear God, this was my gripe earlier. Yeah, I had a bit of a rant. And actually, it was funny. TJ Simers commented on it, and I kind of shut him down. I'm just proud of that one. UCLA, here's where UCLA has been, where their games have been broadcasted at the start of the season.
Hold on, Mike.
first-
Let me stop you real quick. I just want to point out that the only thing more obnoxious about Mike's tweets about Jaime Jaquez are Mike's tweets about UCLA women's basketball. Mike, continue.
Fuck yeah, dude.
He's a man who has strong opinions on this particular
I
thing.
do, you have no idea.
Lay it on me, Mike.
People need to start listening to me. Okay.
You're Nancy's hero on this, Mike.
I'm not gonna say the teams. I'm just gonna say where they've been broadcasted. Pac-12 Network, the UCLA Stream, Pac-12 Network, Flow Hoops, which had a $36 subscription
Mike,
to watch the game against Connecticut.
you're basically
and then
saying
against-
untelevised. You're saying untelevised because you say Pac-12 Network, it's
against-
untelevised. UCLA
exactly.
Stream, untelevised. Flow, untelevised.
Arkansas, SEC Network. Hey, I have the SEC.
Hey, that's on
Network.
TV.
I turned it on.
Yeah.
What happened? There was another freaking game.
Oh, bummer, Mike.
Anyway, yes, CSUN, the UCLA Stream. Finally, what would be their 9th game of the season against Florida State is finally going to be on national TV on ESPN2.
Hold on.
damn
Let me
it.
get to the trumpets.
So mad.
So, with that being
I'm
said,
just saying,
are they going to be on
it's just
TV
so-
and
it's
they're
just
actually
so
going to win?
bizarre how this team that everybody should be watching can't be watched.
Welcome to
yeah,
women's
I'm just
basketball,
saying.
Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
the,
I know.
the struggle
right,
is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so with that being said, they're going to play Northridge. Presumably, they'll kick the crap out of the Matadors, and then they have, like you said, a neutral site game against Florida State, and then at Ohio State. Both those are
yeah, it's
ranked.
another toughie.
Both those are ranked matchups, and then they finished hosting Hawaii to finish off the non-con. Do you
And then
think?
Jake,
What? Go ahead, Mike.
and then the next game after their Pac-12 opener against what is currently the number 6 team in the nation, USC, at Poly Pavilion. Yeah, that was at Poly Pavilion.
Yeah.
They're already calling for a to pack Poly. They are.
Do you think they will pack
UCLA
Poly?
The Den specifically is pushing hard to pack Poly and make this a full-on sellout against what is actually a good USC women's basketball team.
Yeah. Obviously. Now, what have they been drawing to women's basketball, Mike? If you know.
I don't know offhand. I have to look up those numbers, but it's definitely a fraction of what UCLA men's basketball pulls in.
Well, I hope that they.
I would say with like a bad attended game, a men's basketball game, half of that would that would probably match a full capacity UCLA women's basketball game.
Gotcha. So
Yeah,
what
I
we're
would
saying
say.
is, hey, you want to go watch this really bitchin' women's basketball team? Hey, plenty of seats are available. So go out there and support your Bruins your women of Westwood there. Mikey, though, the question I want to ask you was, before you got into the conference schedule, they have Northridge, Hawaii, and 2 ranked matchups, Florida State and Ohio State, to finish the non-con. Do you think they will get through the non-con undefeated? That would take them to, what, 11-0?
You know, Bruin battered syndrome doesn't just apply to football. UCLA women's basketball has dropped some heartbreakers. So, you know, I think they will lose at least one. And I'm leaning towards maybe the Ohio State game. But other than that, I think they'll win out the non-conference.
Okay, well, even if they did end up with, a loss, they'll still probably be it'll certainly be a top 10 team at that point, depending on who the loss is to, I suppose. But it's still something that, we have high expectations for this team. Once they get into the conference season, they're going to play a bunch of different ranked teams because the Pac-12 obviously is going to be strong with the women's hoops, with all the teams that are out there. I want to say right now, SC's ranked, Colorado's ranked, Utah's ranked, Washington State's ranked, Stanford's ranked, and then there's all the other teams
This
as
is a
well.
crazy Pac-12 conference.
So obviously,
we've talked about how the last 5 years the Pac-12 has been the best women's basketball conference. I think this is the best year out of all of that.
yeah. So I mean, so it's good that UCLA looks like they have their best team, but still they're going to have to really prove it as the season goes on. So it all remains to be seen, right? But certainly, if you can get women's basketball to float your Bruin boat for a little bit, this seems to be a team that we can all get behind. So support those Bruins. Also, Mike, we had a horrible, terrible loss to the stupid Golden Bears as well, right? In water polo, lost the national title. That's a bummer.
Yeah, I didn't. I don't
Jamaal
want to
was
bring
happy.
that up, but yeah,
But they're
almost there for the next championship. Water polo has been on the championship scale. That and women's soccer has been carrying the championship banners as of late.
yeah. Didn't we got our butts kicked in one of those sports too? Didn't we? Didn't soccer to have a tragic ending?
Yeah, women's soccer was defending their national title and lost in
the first round
against UC Irvine.
Jesus Christ. Sometimes it is hard to be a Bruin. I guess. So when it comes to the water polo, we're proud of them getting to the championship game, but hard to be a Bruin. When it gets to women's soccer, we're proud of them trying to repeat their title, but sometimes it's hard. Just in general.
It is.
Sometimes it's hard to be a Bruin. Giving all your love to just one team.
All right. Well, like Dante from Clerks, we weren't even supposed to be here today, but Mike made us. Let's bring the show to a merciful end with What's Brewing with You.
What's brewing with you? You ask me. What's brewing with me? Yeah. What's brewing with you? What's brewing with me? What's brewing with you?
Maggie, what's up? What's brewing with you?
The fact that we have entered the holiday season really hit me this past weekend.
Heck yeah.
I had a bit of a mixed emotions. Obviously, we had all of that UCLA news, but also rest in peace to my Aunt Mary. She was. It was expected that she would pass, but with every family passing, it hurts a little bit. With Mexican funerals, it's always a celebration of life. So it was a good chance. It's always a good chance to reconnect with family, to celebrate, the memories of my Aunt Mary. It's so weird in Mexican funerals. It's always sad, but there's always happiness. There's always, you're just telling the stories for the future generations, and there's some happiness in that. There's some
Certainly.
I don't know, just the fact that we can advance our culture and our family and our traditions to the next by telling the stories of the past. So that was a little bit rough, but also had my nephew's this was so weird. Just the fact that some of the family had to transition from a funeral to a birthday party later in the day for my nephew. So it's like, hey, I just saw you. Wow, now we're in happy mode. And then the fact that just this weekend, me and the kids finally started decorating the house. I was daredevil, on the edge of the house, putting up the exterior lights. We were putting up the decorations around the house. It was really fun. Finally got into the mood. So this was a very exhausting weekend, but it was very fun. It was very family oriented. So it was, I quite liked it. Very solemn at points, but it was good to be around family and talk to aunts and cousins and uncles that I haven't talked to in a while, and then to just do all this with the kids. So it's very nice. A very goddamn busy, but but very comforting weekend. How about you, Jake?
Oh, thanks, Mike. No, I appreciate that. I just did all the Christmas decorating this today. I got down all the tubs and did all around the house. So
Nice.
I'm with you. I'm getting into the holiday spirit. But this rant will not be a holiday spirit rant because I'm going to be old man yelling at clouds again. In that I've talked a little bit about traffic and people and how dangerous people are right now and how annoying it is and how people need to learn how to drive better and not be taking these horrible, terrible risks that they seem to be taking now in this age in Los Angeles. But here's another one. Just in the last, 2-3 weeks, on multiple occasions, I've gotten out of my car in a parking lot. It might be at Ralph's. It might be at Best Buy. It might be at Costco. It might be at In-N-Out, which are the places that I frequent the most, probably. But multiple times, I'm opening my car door, and I'm either stepping into a puddle from something that I just ran over with my car because someone left their drink. They took it. They stuck it underneath their car before they left, or stepping out of my car into a pile of trash or some sort of refuse that was obviously left there by the last person that parked there. And I just want to know, what the hell is wrong with people, and why are they so lazy? And why, in this age where where everybody gets their feelings hurt over everything all the time, and everybody's supposed to be, everybody's so, wants to judge everything everybody does, and everything has some sort of, all our intentions are judged constantly. Like, why are people such a-holes that they just throw their trash on the ground constantly? It seems like it's even more so than usual. The city is turning into a giant rubbish bin. I can't speak for other cities, but we're not talking about, we're not even talking about homeless people on the street doing this at this point. We're talking about people that, own a car and park somewhere and go patronize someplace, and they leave all their shit underneath their cars. It's like, how lazy are you? Stop being a lazy asshole. Throw your shit away and stop leaving it for other people to step on. It's kind of like, people that spit their gum out on the street or things like that. It just shows the absolute lack of care for anyone else around you. And it's a little thing, but it's like, we're Bruins. Shouldn't we be channeling our internal John Woodens? And what was the first thing he talked about? Who cares if you can dunk the ball? You need to make sure your shoes are tightened first, or you get your shoes tied straight and properly before you go on to step 2. And this should be like a basic, part of just living in society. People, stop being an asshole, stop taking shortcuts, and just do the things you can do to make your community around you a little bit better, even if it's something easy, like just throwing your shit away. Stop being an ass. Oh, Mike, another thing. We're up in Santa Barbara over the weekend, and we're on the fucking pier. It's a wood pier, right? And we're walking, and ahead of us, there's a nice couple pushing a stroller, and they have to stop on the pier because some a-hole right before them had a dog that took a dump on the pier, and the brown crap from the dog blended in with the brown wood of the pier, and they just rolled their stroller and stepped all in this shit that shouldn't have been there because some asshole walking his dog decided not to pick up the shit. And it's like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, come on, people. Just have
an epic rant, Jake.
Oh, I'm just saying. It's like all we hear all the time is like, oh, we have to be so concerned about how everybody feels, and but all this stuff just no one ever talks about just the basic things you can do to take care of yourself and police what's going on around you. If we all took care of ourselves better and had better habits amongst ourselves, well, there wouldn't be as much shit to worry about. So stop being assholes. Pick up after yourselves. You freaking slobs. God damn it. Don't make me come over there. Because I will. And I'll yell at you. And I'll seem like an insane person. All right. I'm done.
Genius. Just genius.
Mike, why do we do this podcast?
It's been rough, Jake.
terrible.
It's been rough.
This
It's
is
been a rough week.
terrible time. What are we doing? All right. Mike.
The Lord's work, Jake. We're doing the Lord's work.
I don't know about that. But hey, happy holidays. And if this isn't the last What's Bruin show, then I'll talk to you next time. And for all of you, if we don't talk to you before Christmas, we probably will. Odds are we probably will. But just in case we don't, happy holidays. All the holidays for everybody that's celebrating anything. We love you all. We love you all dearly. Thank you for participating in the show. Wish Mike luck. He's got an adventure coming up this weekend, and I'm rooting for him. And I don't know. Until next time, I guess. Go Bruins.
Good evening.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
That was the What's Bruin show.
Try us tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
It's gotta be in or out, Mom. In or out. Well, I need the door closed.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Dude, Rob, we play some ball on the West Coast.
The final word is boob.